a more the culture is more open to accepting the claims of folks who say they've been sexually assaulted. Okay. Part of the rape culture is that once you've been raped, nobody wants to believe you. They want to blame you. And you got a lot of folks out there who've been sexually assaulted and they never say anything, even to their own families, because they're afraid of how they might be viewed. They might be shunned. Hell, could you imagine telling a family member, telling your mother or father you've been sexually assaulted and they blame you? Sometimes that pain is just too horrible, the thought of it. So I understand completely why victims don't come out. But what's up with the brothers now? I mean, damn it. Africa Bambaataa? I'll be honest with you. Something happened to Mr. Ronald Savage. As I said earlier, I saw some videos this morning. He's got like a little twitch. He got a little, I'm like, what the hell's up with dude? I mean, dude was seriously affected by whatever happened to him. And I don't know how much you know about Ronald Savage, but here's another clip. I'll let it roll a little bit, and then we'll play the updated interview with Mr. Africa Bambaataa.
My name is Ronald Savage. When I was younger, I was molested by Africa Bambaataa. Africa Bambaataa is the founding father of hip-hop. He's the co-founder of the Universal Zulu Nation. He's done tons of records like Planet Rock, Looking for the Perfect Beat. I met them when I was around 14. When I was in the 9th grade, I was cut in one day, and I had called Africa Bambaataa. And because I didn't have nowhere to go, so I went up to his house. He paid the cab, and I was in the living room. Another gentleman was there, and it looked like they was DJing. And Bam told me that I could go into his bedroom because the TV was on. So I went to the bedroom, and I was in there, and I say I was in the bedroom no more than 3-4 minutes, and Bam took out his penis, and he started jerking it, and he told me that for me to take mine out, and at that time I didn't really understand what jerking was, so he was telling me, oh, that everybody does it. He unzipped my pants, and he took it out, and he started jerking it.
So you get the gist of it. That's Mr. Ronald Savage. And you're hearing the audio, but there's actually a video. You know, that the audio, I captured that from the video. I'm a good judge of nonverbals. I'm a good judge of character. I believe him. I mean, you know, who the hell here is trying to like take down Africa Bambaataa? Hell, I mean, half the damn population thought he'd already passed. Who knew? I mean, is Africa Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation some kind of threat to the establishment? Hell no, they're not. I mean, I'm not saying they're not doing work, but I don't know what that work is. So all the Bill Cosby apologists, you know, people made a lot of excuses for Bill Cosby. He tried to purchase NBC 20 years ago. And so the Jewish authority, right, the Jewish mafia had to get him 20 years later because he tried to legally purchase NBC. That makes sense. Oh, you know, they don't want a black man to have anything. The man is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's got a lot. But now that he's old, can barely communicate, now they want to take him out. It made no sense. Stop making excuses, Africa Bambaataa. Well, again, here we go with Fox, man. The good folks over at Fox and one of their affiliates, they actually called an interview with Africa Bambaataa. And this is the first interview that Africa Bambaataa has done since these allegations. And for people who have a very keen ear, you have a very keen ear. Perhaps you've already seen a video at some various social, various internet outlets. I'm sure it's being shared socially everywhere this morning. I want you to pay keen attention to what you hear, the inflections in his voice, right? The distinction in his voice, the things that he says. At some point, Africa Bambaataa compares himself to political prisoners. Yeah, I'm not making it up. You know, political prisoners sometimes, and it didn't make any damn sense at all. Sometimes they find, I don't know what his point was. But it reminded me of Heidi Cruz comparing her epic primary battle with her husband, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump to ending slavery. Ridiculous. We are living in the last days of common sense, my friends. Yes, we are. I don't know what this world's coming to.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
But here's the first interview with Africa Bambaataa. Check this out.
Have you ever abused any underage boy?
I never abused nobody. You know, it just sounds crazy to people to say that here you abuse me. You know, my thing is, you know all my people back then. You know the hundreds of people that been around me. You know, if something like that happened, why you never want to? None of them.
It also sounded crazy to many fans of his 1980s hit song, Planet Rock, considered one of the all-time greatest in hip-hop. Since then, as the founder of the hip-hop cultural organization Zulu Nation, he's been a visiting professor at Cornell and invited to speak around the world. He told me the accusations came as a shock.
What is the motivation?
Yeah, what is the motivation? What is the agenda?
Do you think there is an agenda there?
It's hard to say. You know, you don't know what many of these people are thinking, what is behind it. Some parts I've seen like it could be shake-ups. You know, certain things people might have wanted.
Bambaataa's chief accuser, Ronald Savage, is now 50 years old. He claims in 1980, when he was 15 and under the age of consent, playing hooky led to his first sexual experience with the hip-hop pioneer and was followed by at least 4 other abuse incidents.
I didn't have nowhere to go, so I had his number, and I called him, and he paid for the cab for me to go to his house.
Savage claims through therapy he came to understand he was abused and became aware of other alleged victims.
I couldn't believe it. I was confused. I was a little nervous, you know, and I was just wondering, like, the other guy coming into the room and, like, what was they going to do to me?
I asked Bambaataa what he would say to Savage.
The brother knows the people who he came around in my group with and know that he wasn't in my presence less among those people, and he needs to go back and speak to those people who was part of our organization and deal with them and stop all this type of craziness that they've been trying to put by attacking me.
And you never touched him inappropriately?
I ain't touched this brother whatsoever.
The allegations have set off a social media firestorm and ignited feverish debate. Since the alleged incidents happened so long ago, no criminal charges can be brought. And there have been no settlements or payouts, says Bambaataa attorney Charles Tucker Jr.
Have there been any criminal charges filed against Africa Bambaataa at all?
Absolutely not. Not today, not yesterday, not the day before yesterday, not ever.
The question now is what happens next? Can we ever find out the truth of what really occurred? And are there other victims out there who have yet to come forward? Or is this a case that will only be tried in the court of public opinion? Here's what both sides have to say. In our exclusive interview, Africa Bambaataa emphatically maintained he is not a sexual abuser.
Do you feel now you are among that group of people falsely accused?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, there's always been things in our community where you falsely accuse people, or people have sit in the prisons, you know, political prisoners and groups like that, that they wait to 10, 15, 20, even 30 or 40 years before they find out that this person was railroaded.
But Ronald Savage believes there are more victims out there and that the statute of limitations should be eliminated.
No one can tell anyone when they're ready to let stuff out. And especially if you haven't went through what I went through and other people went through. It's like, how dare you?
I agree 1,000%. How dare you? Ronald Savage is absolutely right. There should be no statute of limitations for sexual assault. There should be no statute. Now, if you wait 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to make it very difficult to prove it. And then that will fall back on those who are claiming to have been abused. But there should be no statute of limitations, much like murder, because you are murdering someone. Ronald Savage, if in fact he was sexually assaulted by Africa Bambaataa or anybody else, he's not the person he would have been. He's not the person he would have been. Very, very sad. So Africa Bambaataa believes that he's a political prisoner? I mean, what would be the motivation for Ronald Savage to come forward like this? And now there's other accusers as well. I mean, what's the motivation? I mean, is Africa Bambaataa? Is Africa Bambaataa working on some big deal? Is he trying to buy NBC? I don't want to understand the motivation. I don't understand the motivation. And what is he talking about? Go back. Well, all my peoples, the hundreds of peoples around me. That's the reason why he didn't feel like coming forward, because you had hundreds of people around you. They put you up on a pedestal. You were a deity, a demigod, a hip-hop demagogue. And as someone came forward back in the 80s talking about one of the early pioneers who was so deep in the community, right, trying to change things in a positive way, had did something, they might have found Ronald Savage in a box. That's why he didn't come forward. Very, very, very sad. Very, very, very sad. In the days to come, B writes, he's getting all this publicity for free, marketing. Yeah, but this is a good example of how not all publicity is good publicity. He's getting the absolute wrong kind of publicity. Searching for a perfect victim? Planet Rock? I mean, even his name, Africa Bambaataa, takes on a whole different connotation to some folks. It's sad. Keita's funny. She said, ha ha, Mr. Ivey, you and the Africa Bambaataa. That was Kush, man. I can't get it out of my head. Tonika writes, Zimmerman has had death threats. Duh. Yeah, exactly. Deanna writes, the Martin Foundation refused to let that name pass their lips. I agree. Hey, good morning, Nia. She writes, black folks have Stockholm Syndrome, like a MF, like a moonhunger. They never gave a bleep about us, Trump. They never valued our lives, Zimmerman. They never respected us, Hillary. But we keep giving them a pass. Unacceptable. B writes, looking for the perfect booty? What? Come on, man. How about we use looking for the perfect victim? How about that? As we know these sexual predators do. Hey, a good reason not to skip school. Good reason. Africa Bambaataa should have told him to go back to school or go home. That's what a real mentor would have done. Nuri writes, another person coming after someone well known in the black community like Cosby. Shaking my head. You can do the same thing to the black community and we believe it. When just a year ago, the same thing happened to Cosby. Yeah, I agree. I believe that Cosby did some of that, honestly. Some of those women obviously are just making it up, or they were party girls. You know what a party girl is? That means they come to party, right? Party girls. And now they were just like, adding their names to the bandwagon trying to get paid. But come on, man. Beverly Johnson, all these women, and you using Rohypnol. He's making jokes about it. Come on. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's Rohypnol, there's usually sexual abuse. I'm just saying. Let me switch gears here. Before we break this morning, again, I'm not leaving anytime soon, but I want to talk about a meeting that is proposed here for Cincinnati. It's called the Black Agenda Cincinnati 2016. It's on Saturday, June 11th at 2016 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Woodward High School. That's a long time for a meeting. That's like 8 hours. The hell are we going to talk about for 8 hours? And I heard about this some time ago. One of my listeners sent me a connect saying this was going on. And, of course, I called the number to reach out. I also try to reach out. Is Dwight Tillery on Facebook? If he is, he must have me blocked or something because I can't find his page. And I can see his name on other people's pages, but when I click on it, nothing comes up. I don't know. I don't know why he might do that. But I've got no issue with Mr. Dwight Tillery at all. He does great work in the community. But the Black Agenda, a man who we talked about many times on the show is going to be there. He's going to be the featured speaker, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. He's a Hillary surrogate. He's a Hillary surrogate. That's his opinion. I got no problem with it. He was an Obama surrogate as well. Okay, that's his opinion. That's his political viewpoint. I got no problem with it. He's going to deliver the keynote. And right there off. Listen, I want to see Mr. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. I think it'll be fabulous. He's a tremendous intellect. And I've got many of his books in my personal collection. And from time to time, I go back to his book. Speaking of Bill Cosby, he wrote the intellectual response to that nonsense that Bill Cosby was spewing about Black America many years ago. And Michael Eric Dyson was absolutely right. But how do you get a speaker from outside